There we go. Well, good evening, everyone. I just thought today would be a good time to go back to listings. I know I did listings for a bunch of weeks there in a row, and then I kind of veered off on a few subjects. Didn't want to get you guys so sick and tired of it, but it is still listing season. It's nice weather out there. We should be pulling in more listings right now. Like I say, listings are our health as realtors because they get our name out there. And we find other buyers from our listings. We get free marketing with that sign in our in the lawn. There's so many good things. So I know a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't really like it. I like to work with buyers more. And while that may be the case, and you may make more money. Hi, how are you? At the end of the day, you'll find that the most popular people who are out there, the most known agents are the ones that are listing agents. You see their sign there. So, it's important to, hold on, let me just give me a quick mute there. Yeah, it's important that you focus on getting your listings at the end of the day. So today I have gone over the CMA, how to objection handle during your listing appointments. Today I wanted to focus on how to load a good listing online. So this is super important because I always say that when you first put that listing online, it's that boost it gets the first few days, right? We all know that's when we get bombarded with our showings, if we're going to get bombarded, if we've loaded a good listing. So that's because usually when everybody's signed up on realtor.ca and done their searches, it funnels into all the public looking for things within that price range in that area, as we all know, but it also funnels into all the agents who are working with clients. So we have to ensure that we're loading good listings so we don't ruin that first burst of energy, because the last thing we want is a stale listing. It's hard to revamp a sale listing at the end of the day. There are ways to do it, but it's definitely difficult. So I'm just going to share my screen here. We'll go over to the first thing about loading a great listing. Okay. So I'm going to make sure everybody can see that share. I'll go back to it because sometimes when I click, it doesn't go on. So real estate photography, it gets a lot of airtime, and it's actually super important right now. During COVID times, everybody is vetting things online a lot more. You find you have those clients that instead of looking at 10, 15 listings, they're really narrowing it down online because a lot of us are spending that extra money on photography and staging. So the listing has a great online presence, and especially with virtual tours, 3D tours, you almost don't see a listing without it nowadays because people have been vetting so many things online before they go out. So high quality photography, it makes every house, condo, cottage look like something out of a magazine. It's hugely important for listings. Why? Because it's the first point of contact that's going to draw someone into that listing. So very often, you know what I mean? When I get a listing that's stale, from someone out there who's complaining, saying, oh, my listing's just not moving, I've been sitting on the market for a while, I tend to go look at these things, and I guarantee you one of the first things is that it hasn't been professional photography. You go in, they're dingy photos, they're not bright, they're not, you know, touched up, you know, not professionally taken to get the right angles of the room to make them look big. So super important for our listings at the end of the day. I know it's money up front we're putting before a listing is sold, but you have to put some skin in the game, like they say, so to invest in that listing to ensure that it sells at the end of the day, right? Amazing photos will get you clicked, but add in detailed, clear, and engaging description. And you've just created a real estate listing that'll have your phone ringing. So you have to include the right details. MLS systems almost always have a limit to how much you can write in a listing description. I know we're all pros of short forms for everything, right? Because you can only fit in so many characters in that description. But the sections for the property and building features, like the number of bedrooms, the heating type, exterior finish, and so on, don't count towards that character maximum. Use your description wisely. So I'll find a lot of people repeat a lot of things. You know what I mean? 3-bedroom, 2 washroom. We kind of already know that. Maybe we really want to push, in case people miss that it's a +1, we might add there's a +1 separate entrance, but we want to kind of minimize what we're putting in there that's already in the details of our listing that's clearly visible for people, right? Use your description wisely. Don't waste that precious space on repeating the numbers of bathrooms and how big the lot is, unless it's something substantial and you really want to showcase it, and that's something. Incorporate details that emphasize the property's best qualities. So an amazing, worth getting out of bed for view. proximity to schools, restaurants, coffee shops, cultural destinations, and parks. I find a lot of people are adding these descriptions as sort of an attachment on our listing too. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of that. Do some research on your property, find out what the walk score is, find out what the closest schools are, find out what, the closest shopping malls are, what kind of transit's available in the area, and put that on a separate sheet. You can add that in. It's kind of a sneaky way to add more of a description to your property to get it in there for the clients. But definitely the public doesn't know to check those attachments. They're going to use their agent to do that. You want to try and put it in your first description that they see there, right? Luxury features. So these are things you really want to focus on. Heated flooring, theater rooms, chef kitchen, professionally designed closets, ensuite bathrooms, heated towel holders, heated floors, different things like that, that will definitely draw people in, that'll show the difference between you and maybe 5 other things that are available in the neighborhood. What pops your listing? What's different from your listing? I emphasize how important it is to be going in and doing research about your listing before you load it. So I know when I was talking about pricing strategies, but it's important also for finishes. You're going to go in and you're going to see, I'm going to go and put that listing up today. What is currently up today? What is my competition? How can I stand out above and beyond them? Okay, I know that, I noticed I have a wider lot than the one that's up for sale on the same street. Or I have a pool, or I have an ensuite bathroom in the master and the 2 others in this neighborhood don't. So play on those things to help boost your listing over other, and you have to see what your direct competition is at that time. I always tell my clients when I bring them my CMA to the appointment, and if they're not ready to list that day, I always tell them, they go, okay, what's the price? How are we marketing this? I say, you let me know if you're going to do a week's worth of painting and we're going to list next week. I have to now look up this information again because I want to see directly what I'm going up against to load that listing, because I want to look better than the crowd, right? You have to blow those other listings out of the water to get sold before them, right? Recent renovations and upgrades, super important. You have to watch your verbiage on this one though. I know RICO kind of comes down on you. So if it's something that's actually new, that's just been done before the listing, new is a good thing to use. If it's 2021 like it is now and they did it in 2019, try to avoid using words like new, because it's circumstantial. It's how, that obviously the people who've been living there for 40 years think it's a new renovation, but when we walk in, we can tell it's a little used and our clients might be slightly disappointed. So newer, learn to use words like that kind of don't set the bar too high, because that's another thing, is that if you're not talking truthfully about the property and you get that bar set really high, people walk in expecting a brand new kitchen, they've used it for 2 years, they kind of get a little disappointed. It deflates the excitement about that property and when they're walking through it, right? Environmentally friendly upgrades and features. These are becoming more and more important these days, solar panels and, like composts and, energy efficient lighting and different things that'll help people control their utility bills, help the environment. More and more important every day. Brand names of high-end appliances in the house. So, we all know the importance when we always put our stainless steel appliances instead of your basic white appliance, right? We know that pushes the listing for sure. All right, so how many of you sit there and really ponder over your description? I know I do, right? I could reword it, you know what I mean? Because you have to make sure that you're setting a scene. You want to entice people to come and see the property. You want to spark some interest. It's like reading a good book at the end of the day. You have to become good at writing descriptions, right? So the trick to writing listing descriptions that sell is to make the property come alive. They always say when you're in a book, it comes alive in your head, right? Same sort of thing when we're writing the description. You need to contextualize the home's features and show readers how it can make their lives better. Sure, the remodeled kitchen looks nice enough, but why should a prospective owner care enough to see it in person? An additional bedroom of the garage is a lot of extra sleeping space, but what if the person reading the listing thinks it's too much room? Help them visualize it. Serve gourmet meals with restaurant-grade appliances and dining space for 20. Probably better description than remodeled kitchen. So now we all have to become sort of authors of our listings, right? At the end of the day. Bed, bath, suite with separate entrance give guests utmost privacy and comfort. So while I might think it's so much space, now I've put this and I go, oh, that's right. Every year when my in-laws come and visit, perhaps this is a beautiful space for them to kind of stay out of my hair. Now it becomes an attractive feature instead of too much space for me, right? Giving readers a brief example of how the space can be used, this can go a long way to enticing them to see it in person. Use words that sell. Okay, so what are our buzzwords that sell that we like to see, right? Use words that have a connotation, whether it's your intention or not, to communicate certain things, good and bad. Okay, we all become experts, but reading listings now, as the more and more years we go on as being agents, we know that cozy means small, probably, right? Use your own taste or flair, needs some renovation, right? So we have to become really wordy and try to entice people in. Try to avoid scaring the reader away and steer clear of. So I see a lot of things that say must sell, right? Must sell, seller must sell, you know what I mean? Motivated seller, we see that a lot, right? Even if my client is motivated, I'm not putting that in my listing. At the end of the day, it's still our duty to try and sell them for the highest price possible. The second you put something in like that, they automatically assume that your client is desperate for some reason. And then you're gonna be getting offers under asking, or offers not at what your client's expectations are. Vacant. This can mean the seller has already moved into another property. So this I agree and disagree with. So we talked about lock boxes earlier this week. Vacant properties, we have to put it on there in the description, whether it's vacant or owner occupied. So the first reason I appreciate someone putting a vacant, whether it's vacant occupied, right, is because most of the time I'm going in, I might be meeting someone I don't know at the property, and for my safety, I like to be aware that it's vacant. So I always make sure I have someone present with me, right? But vacant also says, oh, okay, maybe this person's already moved out and they're carrying 2 mortgages. And so maybe now I can really hose them on the price because it's already been up on the market for 15 days and they're going to have to pay another mortgage payment soon. So you have to definitely watch these things that you use, right? Good value. Good value. This home isn't that great. That's what they're saying. Good value for the money, right? Freshly painted. Well, that's about the only positive thing to say about this place. So we see that a lot. A lot of people put a fresh coat of paint on. Big deal, right? It might still have a kitchen from the 1980s and the basement from the 1960s, but they freshly painted it. Big deal, right? So freshly painted is a hard one. I find freshly painted only works for your rental listings. I don't know if you guys see that a lot. I put that up actually for my recent rental, and I got a lot of showings for it because I think tenants are looking for something. So this is not always a bad connotation. I think we're focusing on sales here right now, but freshly painted is not a bad thing to put up for your lease listings for sure. Starter home. It's so small and basic that only first-time buyers will want to live here, right? Starter home, that usually says to me, I can get this house for a cheaper price, right? Because they're first-time home buyers, or it is a tinier space that's selling for a smaller price, right? Vintage. They're trying to be nice about the fact that this place is an old dump, right? Vintage, right? Usually connotates that someone elderly is living there and there haven't been a lot of changes done to it, right? Potential. Potential is definitely saying to me needs a lot of work, right? This home has great potential. Now, potential I don't think is a bad thing to use if you're selling it as an investment property that needs work, right? Because the property might have a lot of potential. There might be a wall you can knock down, open up a huge space. It might be on a huge lot that can accommodate an addition. So again, potential is one of those ones I feel like it depends on how you're using it for your listing, right? So the next they talk about opening statement. You guys remember your English teacher always says that when you write your essay, you have to draw them in with their first sentence. Draw me in with your first opening sentence. So it's the same sort of thing when you're loading your listing. You have to think this way when you're creating those dialogues between you and the person viewing it on realtor.ca, right? So a well-written opening statement piques a reader's interest and compels them to continue reading the rest of the description. Even as a realtor, I can tell you, I tend to just scroll through listings real quick. Just read the first line kind of quick, scroll through them when I'm going and I'm looking for my clients. So this is an important thing because it's going to catch both the public looking and agents, right? So you have to get attention in the first sentence, indicate value, and set the scene with a high level aspect of something unique about the property, such as the architectural style or property location. So this is where you're going to use certain things like newly remodeled mid-century home, right? Bright and spacious starter home, cozy bungalow in the 7 Oaks, right? So we're focusing on like what community, what area this is now, right? Prestigious estate with breathtaking views. You really want to draw the person in with that first line, because then they will go on and eventually read the rest of your description, right? To encourage readers to call you. So this is important as well. You have to incorporate different things like luxurious, which means lots of high-end touches here, right? I want to let them know it's a luxurious home. It's not builder grade, it's not Home Depot countertops. They've actually taken the time and put some upgraded stuff in here. Landscaped. It has a yard that already looks good, so not a lot to do. Not a lot of people are gardeners. They really appreciate the curb appeal and the landscape yard, right? Turnkey. This property doesn't need any work. Your client can move in. They don't have to do the floors of the kitchen or the bathrooms, right? Oversized bedrooms and bathrooms. So this indicates to me there's plenty of room, good for big families looking, right? Private. Neighbors can't peer inside. You guys do those showings sometimes where the houses are basically paved. You can barely slide a piece of paper between them and one window's looking in the other window, right? Upgrades. This home feels pretty new. So that upgrades, you definitely want to focus on what they've done to say, you know, what the work and effort that the next person who's moving in doesn't have to do. Natural light. It's bright and cheery with lots of windows. All right. The next one is one of my favorites. Proofread, 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 right? I howl when people have mistakes in their listing. It's not a whole essay. It's not like a 10-page, 3,000 character essay, you know, it's just a 200, I think it fits in there, maybe in the description. It doesn't take that long. It's just one paragraph. It doesn't take that long to proofread. If you're unsure, get someone to proofread it for you. The quality of your writing matters, even in a short and casual listing description. Bad grammar, spelling mistakes, inconsistent capitalization and formatting. These are all distracting to someone reading your listing. And even though a listing description isn't an essay, little mistakes add up, making your listing look bad. Always read over your writing twice before you publish. Read it slowly and loud. You'll be surprised how this can turn up mistakes that you otherwise would have missed. Okay, avoid jargon. So I was talking about realtors, we're experts at all shortening it all, right? We know what GB&E means. We know what, you know, BDRM means. You know, we know how to shorten all of these things, right? We have to take with a grain of salt that the public doesn't always know the jargon we're using, right? So real estate does. We have our own language, abbreviations, acronyms, and terms that mean something in industry, but nothing outside of it, right? Because the character limit on listing descriptions, some of these can't be avoided. So bedroom, sometimes they can figure out, but other short forms are too industry specific and only stand to confuse your reader. So GB&E is a big one. I know a lot of people put that in the description and I get asked that a lot by clients. What the heck is that, right? Limit your use unless you're really stuck for characters and you're really trying to fit something important in the description. And you might want to ask a non-realtor friend to read it over. You'd be surprised with how many times they stop you and ask you, hey, what does that mean, right? Yeah. We take for granted that we know these things, right? All right. Do I have any questions so far before I go on? Everybody come across these listings? How many times have you read a description from someone where they've had a spelling mistake in there or something really funny? It makes you giggle at it more than take it seriously, right? Yeah. Like I say, one of the big things is the repetitiveness. Like I say, you know, I know people want to focus 3-bedroom, 4-washroom, blah, blah, blah. I think that a lot of that is already in the description. I think you should avoid doing that. I think you should focus on what have you done? When you're sitting for that listing appointment with your clients, you want to ask them, what have you done with the property, right? And what renovations have you done recently? When was the roof done? A lot of times they'll go, I don't know. So you have to like gear your questions. When was the roof done? Oh yeah, we did that 2 years ago. Okay. When did you last, you know, do the washrooms? When did, you know, was your kitchen looks fairly new? When was it updated? So you kind of have to get them to do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the SPIS in a minute. None of us use it. Yes. I don't really suggest using it in your listing, but it's not a bad tool to help you take for your listing appointment to go through a checklist with your clients. It kind of helps you think of questions to ask them, even though you're not going to get them to sign it and load it on your listing. Okay. A lot of us don't use it because it's sort of a catch-22 where we're getting them to talk about the state of their property and then they're going to get held to it. That's why we never hardly ever load that SPIS, but we'll take a look at it today quickly if we have time. I'm almost running. Oh, I'm already half done. I'm always running out of time. Too much to say here. Let's go on to the next one. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about ways to increase our traffic. That's because I just opened that. I'm going to stop the share and share again just to make sure everybody can see it. So here we are, we've loaded our listing. How do we increase our traffic to our listing? You know, I'm always stressing that first week, first day, I'm waiting for that first listing, that first showing appointment to come through. I want to know what's going on with the listing constantly. It's constantly on my mind. How do I increase this traffic, right? So they say if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there, does it really make a sound? A lot of people say that, right? If a house is really nice, but nobody looks at it, does it really matter how nice it is, right? You can't sell without showing. You got to show to sell, right? So if you're not getting any showings, it's your job, because they've hired you as a listing agent. You've got to be really cognizant. Hey, it's been a whole day. You can't let a day go by. It's been a whole day and I didn't get a showing request. Why? Go and tweak your listing right away, right? You have to do that. In a buyer's market, it's twice as important. So we know that we just went through a really big seller's market. We're kind of slipping into a more buyer's market now. Things have kind of slowed down a little bit. We still see the bidding wars are not as aggressive. We're not getting 30, 40 showings for our listings though, right? It's important to increase traffic over other types of markets. If you aren't getting enough showings because the exterior of your home looks like every other home in the neighborhood, whether it's a single family home or a townhome condo, it might not be just the price. We always focus on price. The first thing we're going back to our clients with is price change, price change, price change. But like I say, if you're an agent and you want to get that repeat and referral business later on in your career, because people will come back and appreciate, don't let the first thing be, oh, let's just change the price, right? It might be because there's an abundance of inventory on the market and buyers have too much to choose from. So I go back to the listing I had recently at 471 Vermorton. You guys can look at the history of it. I put it up for a bid date. The first week it didn't go. So we came to the end of that first week and I didn't go back to my client with a price change. Instead, I sat down and I did a little research and I realized that during that first week I had it up, there were 2 other similar properties, 2-story, 4-bedroom homes that were up for about the same price, but they already had a separate entrance. Mine did not, right? Which was kind of hindering my property a little bit. So I didn't go back to my client with a price change. What I did is I went back to my client and I said to them, you know what? I'm going to try a bid date again. And I'll tell you why, because now I'm looking today and it's a whole lot of bungalows up this week. I think if I put it up today, I think I can sell it this week. So my client trusted me. We did it and we sold it for a good price. I think they went for $1,065,000 and he said he was looking for about $1,070,000. So really close to his price point that he wanted. So like I say, it's really important to do your research and see what kind of inventory is out there to push your listing. It's not always an automatic go back to your client price change, right? You have to make your listing easy to show. So I stress to my clients. Now I know some of them have newborns, some of them have shift jobs, some of them have reasons they can't show their property at certain times, which is really important. But if you have one of those listings that can only show on Tuesday and Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m., it's going to be difficult, right? It's going to lessen the traffic. I try to tell my clients, look, just suck it up for a week or 2, maybe get a hotel room for at least this weekend that we're putting it up. I'm going to put it up on Friday. You're going to get bombarded with showings this weekend. You know, let's just let every showing through. I go, because every showing that you refuse on me might be the one who could buy it, right? So you want to make your listing easy to show, right? We see very often lockbox for easy showings. That's important as well, because they want to know it's easy to get into the property. They don't have to pick the key up from somewhere. They don't have to have the listing agent present, right? They want to know it's super easy. You can go at any time, right? Sometimes we can't avoid this because there's tenants in the property. So due to laws that we have, we might have to give 24 hours notice. I always try to make good friends with the tenants. I say, give me your tenant's number, and I call them and I thank them so much. And I say, you know, if I do get something less than 24 hours, you think you can accommodate, you know, they'll say, you know, I'm usually pretty good with a couple hours notice, and we can just try and work with our tenants and our clients' tenants to try and lessen that, because easy to show listings are definitely moving faster than ones that are hard to show. Right? Answer your phone. Oh my goodness, this is such a difficult one, I can tell you, because the most frustrating thing for me is these secret agents. They either don't have their number on their listing. If they don't and they're really busy, fine, they funnel through their office. You can't get a hold of them and they don't answer their phone, right? We can't let everything go to voicemail. You know what I mean? It says here, I know we get a lot of soliciting calls. Hey, can I boost your Google AdWords? Hey, can I build your website for you? Hey, you want your ducks clean, different things, because our number is just splashed over there all over the internet, but you have to answer your phone constantly, right? Because you want to be catching everybody who's coming for that calling. So like I talked to you before, listings are definitely the health of being a good agent at the end of the day. Even if you love working with buyers, you're going to get more buyers from your listings. Make it a good habit that everybody who's calling you off that listing gets stored in your phone. And I always just store them as, Ken 20 Martindale inquiry. I have 1 million in my phone for every listing I have, because I'm going to call all those people back. If they don't come and buy this property, those are my potential buyers that I'm going to work with going forward now. This is how you expand your business and you funnel out your business from your listings, right? Offer a competitive buyer agent commission. So I know it's really tough. We have those clients out there who really want to dog us for a commission at the end of the day. And again, I have my commission thing I was going to go over with. Hopefully I have a minute or two to do that today. And I know that it's really difficult to say to them, hey, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'll take 1%, or yeah, I'll take 1.5% at the end of the day if they're really sticky for it. I always push for my 2.5. I try to show them what my value proposition is. But at the end of the day, if I walk away, the very next agent's going to take it for 1%, right? So I always say better some money than no money, right? If they're really stuck on it. And I push 1% at the end of the day isn't hurtful to you necessarily, because you are getting that free advertising with your sign in the lawn. You're getting your name out in that neighborhood. You're getting buyers that are calling you off of that listing. And I know it sucks to cut the commission at the end of the day, but I really try not to play with that buyer's agent commission, because I find that is not going to push up the price for my clients at the end of the day, right? Because if there's 3-4 things in the neighborhood that are really similar and you're the only one offering 2% or 2.25, then what are we going to do at the end of the day, right? They're going to show those properties over your client's property. And unfortunately, even if that's not the way you work personally, that's the way that a lot of agents work out there. Unless their client is specifically asking to see your property, it's not going to get shown as much. All right, we were talking a little bit at the beginning about honesty is the best policy. So find gentle and polite ways to let your clients know improvements that you notice will help the sale. If their house is overcrowded with items, suggest a bin company that can help them declutter their home. Inform that the buyers walking through don't always have the best imagination of spaces, and the clutter makes the rooms in the house look smaller than they actually are. If the front yard needs the lawn mowed or the yard cleaned up, let your client know the first picture of the front of their house is what's going to attract buyers to look further into their listing. So my listing I just put up in Kawartha Lakes, I walked in, first thing I saw was, okay, they're doing sort of a 2+1 deal, which is great. And then they have an office on top of that. But I walked into the +1 on the main floor, which the parents are using, and it's just overcrowded with this huge bed. And it was really sad because it overlooks the backyard. It's got all these big windows. And I said, the next person coming into this property might not use this as a bedroom, but might walk in and go, oh, this, it's no space in this room, because they had a huge king size bed. So I asked them, I said, for the couple weeks that we're doing this listing, you guys mind switching it around? Can you put a smaller bed in the corner and maybe put a couch here so people can imagine, oh, I could use this as a guest room, but I could also use this as a beautiful sitting area because there's all these beautiful windows overlooking the backyard, right? So they did, and the room looks gorgeous. You can look at the pictures online. I thought they did a good job of it. Take excellent photos. So we go back to the excellent photos thing again, super important. Don't do little dingy photos that are dark. You know what I mean? The photographers know how to capture the room, how to make it look big at its best angle, how to brighten it up, touch it up with, Photoshop, just to make it look, really pop online. So increase your traffic through market exposure. So think about what your target audience is. Bump up the marketing. In some markets, direct mail might work. If so, direct mail postcards to all surrounding homes. So I know people say to me, oh, they just pick it up and they put it in the garbage, right? But the thing is at the end of the day, somebody said to me, I think it was last year sometime, they said, you know what? We're so saturated with social media. I find my flyers are working lately because there's not as many in my mailbox anymore. Where we used to get maybe 10 a week, I'm only getting 2 or 3 realtors that are sending out on a regular basis. A lot of people are focusing on the social media, which is great, but don't take for granted that maybe a actual paper flyer every now and then in people's mailboxes is going to do something. They say they have to see it 10 times before they start recognizing your name. So don't even think that you're just going to go hand it out once and you're going to get a bunch of phone calls. You have to do it over and over, right? Advertise in local newspapers. I don't usually do the newspaper unless it's something important, or I feel like it's going to be helpful. You know what I mean? Every now and then I'll advertise in the Chinese newspaper, or I'll put something up on the Toronto Star online if I feel it's important or it's going to be pertinent to that listing, right? MLS pulls the most buyers, but you can advertise online with your own website. You can do that too. Remax automatically puts it up, which is great because we're viewed like, triple to the competition. Craigslist and Kijiji, but I caution you, Rico has strict rules. You have to identify yourself as an agent when you put your stuff up and you're pushing your listings on Craigslist and Kijiji and other free online websites. They talk about going in home magazines and stuff like that too, but here it's only if you feel like the listing is going to stay for a while, because usually those only publish like once a month or something, and you might already be sold by the time the deadline comes, and then you just wasted your money marketing on that, right? All right, this is a big one, huge. I do this for all my listings. If you really want to push the presence of it, I always do just listed flyers. I always send it out. Right? I always do just listed and just sold flyers. And honestly, that's where I get a lot of my business from that I boost off in the area. If it's not repeat or referral business, this is where I get my new business from, right? It's for two reasons. So people in the neighborhood see your sign, but then they see your flyer. They see the just sold go out. They see the just listed go out, then the just sold go out, plus your post in the neighborhood, and they're getting familiar with your name. But they're also seeing that you're actively pushing the listing. So they're thinking to themselves, well, I saw 2 other signs go up and that agent didn't send flyers in the neighborhood. Perhaps this one is a little more active, right? But then there's also the rule of 6 degrees of separation, right? I also do my just listed calls, and I use this when I call people, because as soon as I say, hey, it's Christine from Remax, they go, well, I don't want to sell my house. I go, no, I know you don't want to sell your house. I'm calling you to see if you have a buyer for my new listing. It's kind of like a pick your own neighbor program. And it's, 6 degrees of separation. Somebody in the neighborhood knows somebody that wants to move into the neighborhood, or has family or friend that wants to move into the neighborhood. So there's a good chance you can double end by doing this as well. So it boosts your business, increase traffic flow to your listing this way. Right? They say offer contests for agents and brokers. I don't normally offer contests. If I've had a really hard time, or I have someone really desperate to push their listing, sometimes you can offer the incentive of a little more commission or something like that. I've seen that, a little commission boost, extra $500 or extra $1,000 if sold before October 1st. We've seen that on listings before. Host an open house extravaganza. Advertise your open house on your listings, on MLS, on your websites, etc. Blitz the area with open house signs hours in advance. Publicize the event everywhere you can create a buzz. So this is also good. This is so good, not just to pull people to your open house, right? What happens on weekends when you're driving around on Saturday and Sunday? You know who you see all on the major corners, on major intersections with their signs, right? You can't take for granted that thousands of people, if you're posting, say for instance, you have a listing at E09, if you're putting a sign on all 4 corners of Markham and Ellesmere, how many people are going about busy at that day, coming off the highway, running their task? How many people are seeing your sign now, right? Make sure you get it out there hours in advance. You have to take it down hours after. I see a lot of people leave them overnight though, till the Sunday open house. And now it's exciting because, per the new rules, we can do our open houses again, right? Let's get those signs out, let people see it. It's good exposure. It's name recognition. We have to remember at the end of the day, we have to keep on building. It's like little building blocks in our brand, getting our face out there. There's a reason why everybody I'm talking to and anybody in the office knows that whoever is the popular agent in your area, you know their name. Why? You always see their signs. You're always getting their flyers. You see their open houses on the corner. We all know who those popular people are for that reason. It's getting ingrained in there, right? So send out e-flyers. E-blasts are great. I don't do them that often, but I know a lot of people that have success with them. I know a lot of people use MailChimp now with the new anti-spam rules and stuff like that, but it's definitely something you can do. I'm not a real e-blast kind of person, but definitely e-flyers work. Remax back office, like anybody who attended that training, see this within 2 minutes, you can create a beautiful, just listed, just sold, whatever you need to do flyer at the end of the day. And it literally takes you 2 minutes of plugging in a little bit of information, right? Make a limited time offer. So advertise a limited time offer. Now, I've never done this. You guys can let me know if you've seen this in a listing before, but they suggest offering an incentive for the buyer. Pay down the buyer's mortgage interest rate for several years, credit a percentage of the sales towards the buyer on closing costs. It's kind of like a cash back, I don't know. Prepay taxes or insurance for a year, pay the water heater, rental for the first year, something that'll entice the buyer. Maybe it would work if you have a listing that's getting really hard to push and you can't sell it, right? Co-op your advertising. Check with an affiliate profession such as mortgage brokers, property inspectors, appraisers, insurance brokers, anyone who stands to make money as a result of your sale. Ask if they would be willing to co-op advertise by helping pay for some or all of your marketing. So this is good. I've done this before. I've paired up with mortgage agents and home inspectors that I know. We've done flyers together, front and back. It cuts both our costs down and gets both our name out there at the same time, right? And you can advertise the listing that you're doing on your side of the flyer, right? So that's good. So the big thing why we want to get our listings out there and push them and get them sold fast is why. Like I talk about having strength as being a listing agent, having your name out there, having your sign out there. What's the worst thing you want to do? Don't be a lazy agent. Don't stick that sign in the lawn and not think about that for another couple of weeks. That neighborhood is watching you. If your sign is sitting and not selling, I can guarantee you the neighborhood is going to get a bad taste in their mouth and you're not going to get a lot of calls. You're definitely not going to be the listing agent for that neighborhood. So you should be super focused those first few days, week that you have that listing. It should be on top of your mind. How can I push this listing? How can I get the traffic out? Have I loaded it online properly? Have I made the listing look enticing? You know, and created a buzz about this this listing for my client. All right, so I'm just going to go over a couple things here. So we touched on the seller property information sheet. I know a lot of you don't even know what it looks like, but we'll just take a quick peek at it right here. So, you know, we always check on our listing SPIS, right? SPIS is this sheet. I know a lot of us haven't seen it or used it, but we always check no. We sort of been advised over the years not to use it. They came out with it, I don't know how many years ago now, but it came out after I started real estate. It came out as sort of a help thing to help, because people are always asking us, age of the furnace, when was the roof last done? But then buyers started to use it against the sellers. So then listing agents stopped using it. But I suggest it as a good tool to take for your listing appointments so you can ask your clients these questions so you know what kind of good things to put into the listing, because it's kind of overwhelming and hard for them to think of it all on the spot while you're doing that listing appointment. So it just asks them questions like, I've occupied the property from. Does any other party have ownership or whatever? It starts with basic questions. But then it asks you about different things you've done, when the roof was done, are there any drainage restrictions, what are the covenants that run with the land, any renos they may have done, any environmental things, you know what I mean, improvements, major and structural that they've done. So it can definitely help boost the listing if your client has something that they've done and they might go, oh yeah, we did that big repair 3 years ago, I completely forgot about that. They might not think it's important, but if they've done a complete dug, say, and what do they call it, done their foundation, you know, secured it from leaks and stuff, that's a big thing. That's a big cost that these people know that if they're buying a house, say in Scarborough that was built in the 60s, that they don't have to go forward and do and absorb that cost, right? Before I go to the commission, I do want to log in here real quick. Let me just log in and then I'll share it, the screen here. I want to just touch on when you go and you load your listing, the end of it. I know a lot of people don't understand what they're checking and why they're checking those things off. There you go. Can't talk and think of my my login code at the same time, right? There we go. Oh, of course you're going to do that. I know, right? It doesn't like you to log in. And me, it's without the keypad for the numbers on the side that trips me up. Okay, I'm just going to stop the share and come back to make sure you guys can see the screen. Okay, so move this out of my way. So we're going to go into an ad edit. Okay, so let's go into an ad edit. I actually have a draft I'm working on now. I'm going to load this listing on Monday. So I'll just go right into that one. It's probably the easiest. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. As you guys can see, I haven't worked on my description yet. I'm thinking about it, thinking what works well for this property, right? So the first thing that we see, where is the seller property information statement? So that's the thing that I was just going over there and looking with you guys. Like I say, I would still click no here. And if you get your client to sign up to fill it out, I feel it's kind of almost a liability for them to say, you know, exact years and what they've done for renovations, because the buyer can hold them to it. But it's not a bad thing to fill out for your own reference so you know what to put into your listing. Distribute to DDF IDX, okay? A lot of us click yes and we have no idea why, right? So DDF and IDX is a portal that people subscribe to. So like Zillow, House Sigma, all of these places, and a lot of other people who have other, I'm trying to think of that other website, I can't think of off the top of my head, but they subscribe to this with the Toronto Real Estate Board. And all it means is that they don't have to manually load every listing that comes up. When they subscribe to it, it automatically filters into their system. So House Sigma has a little like, you know, whatever they've done to program the back end of their website. Now they've subscribed with Treb, it funnels into where they need it and it displays it on House Sigma, right? So you're increasing traffic when you click yes to this. So you would think, why would anyone ever say no? Right? I had a client who was really upset because she went on, I think it was Zillow, one of the Z ones. And she had gone on and she was mortified because they were suggesting that her house was worth less than she wanted for it. Right? So I had to go into the listing and I had to go and change it and edit it and click no. So it wouldn't be funneled into there for anybody else who was going on there and seeing it. So that might be a reason that you might click no. Okay. But other than that, I don't feel it's a bad thing. Exposure is exposure. Get it out there, advertise it. Zillow, House Sigma, everybody out there is using these, especially now. I know everybody looking for a house has that House Sigma app on their phone and they're using it like crazy. And House Sigma is pretty good these days. They're pretty accurate. They're not terrible, right? Permission to contact listing brokerage to advertise. People are like, I don't want other agents advertising my listing. Fine, if that's the way you feel, it's not a problem. As you can see, I click yes. I always click yes. Permission to contact. They have to contact me. So when they contact me, I usually say, no problem, just send me what it's going to look like before you push it out. And you can advertise. So I make sure they're not saying anything in there that I don't want them to say about my listing, but I definitely let everybody advertise. You advertise, it's more exposure. I don't know what your social media is doing and you're putting on a flyer and I'm doing whatever I'm doing. To me, it's exposure at the end of the day, right? Distribute to internet portals, right? So yeah, this is going out to all the internet portals. So that means that Realtor, whatever's connected to our MLS system. So it's going to go to realtor.ca, okay? Our Remax back office, we've plugged, if you've set it up correctly, it plugged in and it'll automatically load your listings. So again, more exposure to whatever's connected to our membership, right? Display address on internet. I find it very rare that a client doesn't want their address displayed on the internet, but maybe they do for a reason, you know, they don't want someone to know that they're selling. So it might just put the city or the intersection there, but it's not actually going to display the address and drop the pin on the map, right? But again, exposure at the end of the day. So those are different things. If you guys are confused about any of those, when you're loading your listing, you can ask me again. But I find the biggest one is DDF IDX. Nobody knows why we click yes. We just all click yes at the end of the day, right? But hopefully that explains to you why we're using that. And I have 10 minutes left. So I'm going to just share my screen real quick for my favorite commission thing. So every now and then I like to go over the commission and the breakdown. So this isn't about loading our listing, but I like to talk about it every time we go and talk about any kind of listings. So we were talking about offering, can I make that bigger? Yes. We were talking about offering 2.5 to the co-op commission at the end of the day. And the biggest complaint I get about telling people that is, oh, but my client is hosing me for the commission. They only want me to do it for 1%. And I don't want to work for 1%. And that really sucks. I agree with you. Especially if you do this, like, you know, not saying anything about part-time, but full-time, if it's your bread and your butter, full-time, you want to maximize what you're doing, right? Every transaction, but you're not doing it for every deal, hopefully, right? And like I say, if you really have a stickler of a client, I feel you might have a difference of opinion to walk away with at least 1% because the next guy's going to take that. So now I've walked away with nothing and the next agent's going to take it for the 1% anyways, right? Because it offers so much value to us as a listing agent. But this is a little tool that I use just to help me try and get a little better commission, because I'm never messing with the 2.5 on the co-op side. You'll never see my listings less than 2.5, right? So I always explain to my clients, it's 5%, right? Of that 5%, we're not messing with the person purchasing, with the co-op agent. We're giving them the 2.5, right? So what I have is my 2.5 here that I'm going to do for you. They don't know what our splits are with the brokerage. Not a lot of them are savvy. A lot of them are savvy and they know what 1% commission, listing commission means, right? But they're going to say, okay, 2.5, now I have to go split with my broker at my brokerage, 1.5, 1.25 and 1.25. So what I'll do is from my 1.25, I have all these expenses. I have my professional photographer going to do for you. I'm going to send out flyers that I got to print. I'm going to pay Canada Post to distribute them. I'm going to, whatever else you're doing for the listing. You know what? I'll take my 1.25 and I'll take 0.25 off and I'll do it for 1%, just like the other guy said he would. No problem. Some of them truly understand what the 1% is. Some of them don't. They go, oh, great. Thank you. What are you walking away with at the end of the day? If you explain it to them this way, I'll do it for 1% here. You take me off 0.25. Hopefully 99% of the time you're ending up at 4.75, right?
Right.
4.75, knock on wood for all of you, 4.75 if you use this method. So I kind of find that works for me when I explain it to my clients that way. But also explain your value proposition. Like I usually say to people, if they're being really chintzy with the commission, I usually say to them, hey, look, I want to do professional photography and I want to do virtual tours and a 3D tour, which all costs me money up front. And that's good for your online presence. So if you're paying me 0.5 more or 0.75 more in commission, but I'm making you $30,000 or $40,000 more, it's a small price to pay at the end of the day to get you more money in your pocket, right? And I know I can do that. But if I chintz on and I don't get the professional photography and I give you a poor online presence and I don't get a lot of people through the door, you're not going to sell for that top dollar. And so you make less money. I make less money, yeah, but you make less money. I make way less of a percentage because it's only a small percentage at the end of the day, right? So I try to just bring their mind around to that and see at the end of the day, their big dollar figure, like they're making more too, right? So anybody have any questions? So next time you guys are loading a listing, feel free to call me. I can help give you some ideas and try and think of things. Sometimes I'm stuck, like even you see I've got my description half written there in my listing that I'm loading, and I'm kind of trying to think. Yeah, but that's why I try to load. I try to load easy early because I know I'm not going to load that till at least Monday or so now. But I've started now because I know over the weekend I might, I'm going to add that and I'll write it in. And even though it's not perfect, I'll just add in buzzwords that I think, and then I'll go back and I'll kind of finish it and make it sound good. At least that's the way I try and do it, right? So definitely focus on that and you'll get more because everybody's opening. They're looking at the pictures first. Ooh, I like it. And then they'll read the description, right? That's what the public's doing on realtor.ca. You have to put yourself in their shoes when you're logging on. What are those two things? Pictures, description. So you guys have to realize how important those two things are, right? At the end of the day.
The house or you?
No. The house.
So we're selling the house.
I know. All right. Well, everybody have a great weekend. I'm sure I'll be seeing some of you this coming Saturday, and I hope the weather stays put for us, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think in the evening though. All right, have a good evening, everybody. Let me know if you need any help loading your listings.
Good evening. Make lots of pictures for the barbecue.
Yeah, I know, we will. Okay, have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.